Good morning.
Wonderful, wonderful. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, Robin. Brilliant, brilliant. How are you, Robin? How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Oh, good. Oh, oh good. Oh, good. Uh, what was I typing? Yeah, I better finish what I was typing. A whole long thing sitting there. uh, there we go. Okay. Didn't want to leave it hanging because then you see those three little dancing dots, and then it's like, come on, hit enter, person, hit enter, right?
Well, not only that, but then it's also you might forget what you were
Yeah,
doing.
exactly, exactly, exactly. Well, I was explaining about the art. Somebody says, "Oh, they don't get it," and so I was explaining that it's about energy and energy management, right? Especially in our world today, where whatever you're doing, it typically requires a lot of energy. By the time you get home, you're like, man, I don't have much energy left. So if we have decor, that's again when you were throwing out stuff, right? This is that making space. It's the same logic. So if our art and our decor is such that it doesn't demand from us to give it energy, then that's a great boon to us. This is what we're in need of, right? Because we don't have spare energy at that point in time. So I don't want a piece where I'm like, oh, I have to feel, I don't know, whatever the thing is making me feel, right? Okay, like Munk's angst, right?
Hmm.
I put that up in my house. That requires a feeling from me. Yes. If I don't, well, then I'm ignoring the painting and I'm not getting the value out of the painting. The value of the painting is how it makes you feel. But I don't have energy for certain feelings. Yes, like for instance, that particular feeling. Now that okay, the angst is maybe a bit on the negative side, but pick any feeling. A painting that really makes you feel in a particular way and asks you to feel that. Yes, this is a requirement. Which is like, man, okay, you're asking me to feel all cheerful. I don't have energy for cheerful right now. Thank you very much. So when your art is neutral and it gives you that sobriety and sophistication, this is an energy that is restoring and regenerative. Yes,
It's
and you
funny
see.
because my aunt is a photographer and she's doing a show now. I love my aunt dearly. I love my aunt dearly. But I had gone away with that she is a lot of energy.
There
And
you go.
it's
See?
interesting because at one point I was asking her about, well, what photographs mean the most. And it's so funny because now that I'm understanding, or I have more understanding of what we share about, she is so attached to her stuff
Yeah, yeah,
because, well, she goes, I can't just choose any, like all.
yeah.
And I could see how
I
that all mentality
yeah,
does not actually leave a lot of room for space,
exactly,
for
exactly,
energy.
exactly, exactly. And also, like I said, if the art demands something of the viewer, I'm sorry, but many people, yes, some depending on the circumstance, this is great. But in our modern world today, where our energy is at such a premium and we're running at full tilt, this is like, man, I just don't have the energy for you. As wonderful and beautiful as it is, sorry, I just don't have the energy for it. So we want something that gives a particular energy that is restorative, not draining. It's a very particular thing. Also, it's just the fact that somebody they say, "Oh, I don't get your art," because it's modern. They say, "Well, I'm traditionalist," and I was saying, think of it in the context of like a corporate art, yes? Because, the style of art that I have, it is very popular in corporate offices or hospitality, hotels, whatever. Uh, any place where there is public, because your job when you're doing this, it's not about putting up what's going to please people. This is an impossibility in today's world. If you've got a mixed range of people, even minimally, what they like is so varied. It's dangerous to try and assume what they like, because if you've already done this for a while, you'll know you get into trouble very, very quickly. A simple example: you put up a painting of a clown. Oh, okay. Who doesn't like clowns? Well, if you go on the internet, you'll find out the answer to
Well,
that,
guess what? I
right?
don't like pictures of clowns. So that's
No, I
a
can't. Me neither. I can't stand clowns. I never did all my life. Now I don't have, when I see it, it's like, okay, it's a clown. It doesn't bother me. But some people are actually very bothered. They have traumatic experiences with clowns. So as we've come to realize, and people are talking and sharing on the internet a bit more, we realize, oh my goodness, the people that did like the clowns, they were kind of actually the minority, but everybody just kind of went along with it because you were supposed to like clowns. But meanwhile, clowns were terrible and horrible and traumatic and stressful and God knows what all. So I'm simply using this as an example to say what back in the day you may have just taken for granted would not be troublesome and cause a problem or even be offensive. Well, today, this is a very, very difficult call to make, because pretty much whatever you do, somebody's going to take umbrage at it. So what you're aiming for is neutrality, but you don't want to be completely boring either. You need to say, well, there's sophistication, there's some moreness involved, and you can go with it in whichever direction you like. And so this is an appeal of, the art style. And, to me, I like to do this as well, in terms of what I'm doing. Maximum freedom, and you can take any path. Yes, I have my poem on it as a suggested idea, or not even a suggestion, just, hey, this is how I see it. But you're free to do whatever you like on it. And this is the magic. That's why when you came with your poems, it was so beautiful, so wonderful. So just while we're on that, did you receive them yet or not, by the way?
they are due to be delivered today.
Oh, today! Exciting. Okay. So please remember to do me the favor wherever you're going to hang them, and when you're trying them out, right? You say maybe take a picture. Maybe take a picture. Those are all valuable to me. Yeah. Right.
And it may not even be this house. It may be a different house.
Exactly, but wherever it is, because to see it in an environment, I don't have that option. In my environment, where I can put it and do that. If I were to get one and have it printed out and put up, so it would be cool to see. It will be very cool to see. Just for my own pleasure as well. But yeah,
Well,
it's very interesting when we consider art from an energy point of view. This is very, very, very powerful. Very, very, very powerful. So, that it takes you, it doesn't demand something of you, but says, hey, you can go in any direction, whatever you need, which is, the two that you got are particular in that. Yes. And they have that movement towards moreness, which is fantastic, right? And that's always, no matter how low energy you are, a movement towards moreness is always a bonus. Yes.
oh yes.
Yeah, yeah, it's very powerful. It's simple but powerful. So I was explaining to somebody who's very traditional, and I mean they're old, I mean they're old, but they're innocent at the same time, and but still, so they don't get it. They don't get it, and they sort of get a little bit.
That's my aunt. Oh my gosh, that's my aunt.
Yeah, I mean, they always get offended by this being called art. No, that's not art. That's not art. So I was explaining all this. We'll see what they react to this now, because they've never thought of it in terms of what it says. And, like you put some art up in your home and you have people around for a dinner party, like, the typical corporate person today. Boy, that art, this is your job. Your next promotion could be dependent on the art that's on your wall. If you put, I don't know, old classic masters, for instance, unless they're originals, uh, that's a big statement that you're making about all sorts of things, and this can get you into trouble, right? So Yeah, this is a dangerous business to put specificness on your wall. Yes, you have to communicate the right tone and mood. It's all about implications. In other words, it's a problematic business. Modern corporate life, not for me. Thank you very much. This is just madness. Yeah. But ambitions, they get people to do all sorts of crazy stuff, right? It's fascinating what people do in the name of ambition. Yeah, it's an intriguing situation and circumstance, when you look at it in that through that lens of implications and what things say, what they mean, and so on. Yeah, right.
All right, so let's go in that direction of ambition.
Oh, very good, very good, very good, very good, very good. Yes, yes. Let me ask you before you start: ambition or aspiration, and what's the difference?
Exactly. Yes.
Why? Why? I mean, there's a massive difference between the two. Yes.
Yeah, but I'm not
Huge.
exactly sure. Oh,
Right.
we've
But
got,
now let's think it through. Right. Okay. So give a tentative understanding for you as to what ambition means and what aspiration means.
Ugh. Okay, so aspiration for me is like something that I'm aspiring to.
Yes.
And then ambition, wouldn't that be more of that's more of a is that more of a doing? Is that,
Yes. Well, they both can be doings, but I think the difference between the two is in terms of the underlying associations that go with it, right? So, ambition is what you wish to accomplish in the context of the world and success and things of that nature. Yes. I mean, ambition is very closely linked to success. Yes.
okay.
I mean, if you remove success from whatever you're doing, well, then where's the ambition? So ambition is about acquiring, achieving, accomplishing something that is regarded as successful in some way. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, if my ambition is to be, uh, the janitor, that's not really for most people kind of an ambition. Yes. So, okay, some people do have such ambitions, and well, in the context of ambition, typically they sort of like, it's not much of an ambition, but okay,
Ah,
you
but
succeed in
but
what, right?
but you want to aspire to be the best janitor.
Exactly, exactly. This is a whole different thing, right? So now your
Aspire a
aspiration,
being? Is that more of a
personal, right? So the other big difference between ambition and aspiration is ambition is worldly and aspiration is spiritual, right? Because also, yes, my ambition is to be a janitor. And that's it. Then the person may even say, "Well, I'm not particularly ambitious. That's all I want." And they get it. But this is it's still a worldly thing. It's still a worldly doing. Whereas if they aspire to, I don't know, be joyful, I don't know, be at peace, right? They can be at peace being a corporate executive or being a janitor, right? That's a personal spiritual decision. It's nothing to do with the rest of the world. So, this is the other main difference, that your aspirations are pretty much your own and they're internal, where your ambitions, they tend to be connected to the world at large and to others. Yes?
mm-hmm.
Does it make sense in terms of the difference?
Yeah, well, I mean, right there, you're saying one's worldly, one's personal.
Right. And that's a massive difference, right? Massive,
Oh,
massive,
yeah.
massive difference. So when we look at ambition, typically what we are now doing is we are doing something that others deem to be important and necessary. So ambition is very much connected to status. Yes, this is, I mean, if you're ambitious, you're looking to acquire more status. That's sort of, the two go hand in hand, or you're looking to accomplish something, etc. Now, yes, some people want to do things for goodness and others want to do things for status, and both can fall under the heading of ambition. So ambition isn't necessarily an ego thing, but typically it is. Yes. And so this is a big difference where your aspirations, they're yours and yours alone, and you can aspire to, whatever it is. And this is your own doing. It's a personal, internal, spiritual thing. And nobody can say boo or ba about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very big difference. Very big difference. Important to understand the difference too, I feel. Because, we grow up in a world where, like when I was young, this was said out loud. Oh, it's good to be ambitious. Oh, you have no ambition. What's the matter with you? It was a really big deal to be ambitious. You were supposed to be ambitious.
This is really interesting because I was really thinking about Kevin this morning. And just with where he's at, and I can say, looking at this was really a positive thing because he has been ambitious and has achieved the role of where he's at, but now I go, there's something missing here, like he's missing a step, like something's going on
Yes,
here, and it's almost as
yes,
if he's been ambitious, but now it's time to aspire to be.
exactly. It's now time to shift to aspirations. Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely. Otherwise, an ambition is only good until you achieve it, and then for the most part, now you start to say, well, was this really worth it? Is it really worth it?
Yes.
Ambitions are very tricky. They
Yes,
will
it is,
draw
because
you.
you are 100% right. Because with all, just
Exactly.
again, with those anomalies and everything, okay, well, you've been ambitious, you've achieved it, but now what?
Exactly. Exactly. Now you have to say, now you have to look at whatever's going on from an effort reward point of view, right? And because there's always more ambition that you can have. And you have to say, but is it really worth it? I've gotten what I wanted, and well, is it what I thought it was going to be? Well, no, because this is it. Ambition is a squared circle, pretty much. We imagine it's going to be all wonderful, and yes, I'll be the manager, I'll be the this, I'll be whatever, and it's supposed to be this great and wonderful thing. But who said that? Who said it was going to be great and wonderful? You know who said so? BMNs. That's who said so, right? Because to them, they all consumed with their ego, and this is the biggest and best and most wonderful thing as far as they're concerned. And and they know that they're pursuing all of this because of a hollowness inside them. So of course they're going to have to make out that this is a valid, legitimate thing, right? It all feeds off itself. So you end up with, when you actually succeed in your ambition, typically you find, well, it's not what it was cracked up to be. And it leaves one a bit hollow, right? So now you've got to really, really focus on what's important to you. Yes, is that title more important than your joy, your happiness, the stress, and etc.? Right? I mean, what price are you paying for this idea that is your ambition, right? Because that's mostly what it is, no?
Yes.
You're spending a lot of energy to chase an idea. All right, now you've gotten it. You've proven to yourself that you can. Well, good for you. All right. So I mean, that's a valuable thing. I don't mean to sound flippant, but that is a very, very important thing to know that I can do it, and if I want to. But now the question is, do I want to? Right.
Well, and that's
So
why,
this
this is
change.
so beautiful because I have been here. Kevin doesn't realize it, but I've been hearing this from him.
Yeah.
With the
Yeah.
work that's going on, I'm going, it's almost as if he's gotten to a point of, wow, there's no, with his particular company, he's where he's at
Right.
and he's achieved it. And that's
Right.
awesome. But
Yes.
then when there's all these issues and anomalies and all this, I could hear that there's something missing there. And I go, but I also know that that's not where he quote unquote means to be. And
Exactly.
an
Exactly.
aspiration, that is the piece
Exactly.
that
Exactly. Exactly.
is
exactly. So
now the
ask
part
him.
that he has to be ambitious about.
Right, exactly, exactly. Ask him what's really important to you. Why are you ambitious? The end result is because it gives you some sort of value, right? Now, if the value is approval and status, well, okay, fine, that works for some people, but it also is a bit hollow after a while. When you get to like a job like Kevin's, all you find is like, well, okay, I've got the title, and it's just a title, and this. It's not as big a deal from a status and importance point of view as a lot of people think it is. What it actually involves is a lot of bloody work, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, is this what I want? If you enjoy your work, you enjoy your job, yes. But if it's work, well, then it's work, you see? So you have to really now reevaluate, because that's the thing. You only find out that ambition is kind of pretty hollow once you achieve it. Yes.
Yes.
So then it's not like, and don't, the key thing to be concerned about is not to keep pursuing going more, 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 more. Right. So I have a little story for you. 1 second. Very short little story, but very, very powerful story in this case. Very, very powerful. 1 second. Let me just find it here. Right. Oh, I keep spelling Marilyn wrong. How do you spell Marilyn?
Maryland or Maryland?
Marilyn, like Marilyn Monroe.
I think it's Marilyn.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Wait. You would think that Google would have a good search, but no, it doesn't. So,
No, I've been finding lately.
well, I'm going to Blogger, and it's there. Um, I know the story's there, but it's not coming up now. I find this too fascinating, and it's the blogger, which is owned and run by Google, and here we go. Okay. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I have it in different places because I incorporated it into a longer, bigger post, so that's why it didn't come up directly. All right. I do want to screen share. Yes. All right. The Fable of Marilyn. Let me just make this a little bit bigger. Oh, come on. Okay. The Fable of Marilyn. Marilyn was a pretty girl, well liked, but she was not satisfied. She was not happy inside. There must be more, she said. I must be missing something. So she set about becoming more popular, making herself beautiful and loved. She did this and still was not happy. Ah, I am not successful or famous. That must be it. So she set about becoming famous and successful. And she became so. The whole world loved and admired her. But still she was not happy. It must be because I'm not loved by the right people. Yes, strangers love me, yes. People who are not important love me. But no one that really matters loves me. This must be why I'm not happy. She set about being loved by important people, even by a president. But still, she was not happy. And when she realized that she had fulfilled all her ambitions, that she was loved by everyone, was loved by important people, and she was still not happy, she realized that there was no further she could go. There was nothing else she could do. She had achieved the pinnacle, but still she was unhappy. There was nothing else she could do. So sadly, Marilyn died of a broken heart, never having realized that love from outside can never make her happy, never having realized that the opinions of others can never make any difference. So sadly, Marilyn never realized it was only her own opinion that mattered. Marilyn was an inordinately sweet and nice person. She thought that having a good opinion of herself was a bad thing. She believed obtaining the good opinions of others was the good and right thing to do. For that was the view of society. Dear sweet Marilyn, in her innocence, never questioned this. She simply tried to do what she believed to be the good and right things in order to be happy. And when she came to the end of all her achievements and knew there was no further to go, she lost all hope of happiness. Or so she sadly believed. That hopelessness crushed her heart, and she died of despair. End. This is a personal view. I do not really know if it is true or not. But of course, it matters not whether it is true or not. The point remains the same. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
The dangers of ambition. When you fulfill them and you're still hollow, you got nowhere to go, and well, then it'll crush you. Yes?
Yes.
If you believe that ambition is the key to happiness, which many people do, it's not. It's absolutely not, right? It's a very hollow thing to chase. If you're going to do things, do it because you love it, you want it, you think it's right and good, not because of any ambitious or status reasons or ego reasons, stuff like this. You end up in the trap that Maryland fell into. You have nowhere else to go when you succeed. Yes, that's really sad, no?
Yes, because now I can say that for me, I aspire to be the best therapist that I can be.
Exactly, and that's for your own reasons, not for anybody else's reasons.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah. The art that goes with this is really cool, by the way. I mean, I think this is actually a Maryland take.
Mm-hmm.
The artist is saying this is, a Maryland variation. I don't know if the second one is or not, but, so much influence with her. But still, showing this fracturedness. But she really was a very sweet and innocent person. She loved to read, by the way. Spent all her time reading. It's quite amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm. This
And
is
she did
very,
invent herself. I mean, when you look at her as Norma Jean, right? You've seen those pictures of her as early Norma Jean, right?
yeah.
I mean, she created Marilyn. She changed her looks and everything. Just act of will and intent. It's quite fascinating. Right, fascinating.
All
Ambition is
right.
very powerful.
Let's take a little sidestep here if we can
Yes, yes.
to what is going on with these arms. I,
Did you see my little my little story I sent you?
yes. So
With the hand doing its own thing. Yeah, yeah.
I know for me, I have been drawn to arms and hands for a while now.
Okay.
And
So
I and it's interesting that the work that I do is with
yeah,
my
yeah,
hands. But
yeah.
what's going on for me is becoming a little bit moreness on a, for lack of a better word, a spiritual, and we're going to use the word joyful side.
Yeah, yes, yes. And this is the point. The point of your ambition is to make you happy. This is what people forget, right? And so when they get there and it's not making them happy, then they don't know what to do because they're not thinking in that. They think it's supposed to, and then they get stuck, right? They get just in that loop. So when you think, oh, it's there to make me happy, well, it's not making me happy, well, do something else, right? So when you realize you've sort of chased a false goal of happiness, well, that can be a bit tough. Well, that was kind of a waste, a lot of effort and all this. I could have done simpler stuff. So, and I think Kevin appreciates this about you, that you can be happy with something that's sort of, relatively speaking, a lot simpler than what he does. I think he really appreciates that. He may not even consciously be aware of how much more he appreciates it, but I suspect so. Yes.
Oh, yes, but
Yeah.
I'm I am
Right.
enjoying it. And there's a little bit of craving here, and that's where I've got to make sure, I am enjoying this moreness. I
Yes.
want, and
Yes.
this is where I've got to be so careful because I want
Yes.
more, but I want more because it feels good, but
Exactly.
I'm also trying to understand why me
Yes. Yes.
and to make sure that ego doesn't get involved here.
Yes,
That
yes. So now we get to path, capital P path. And I'll elaborate on capital P path in a minute. Yes, I just want to go keep the aside with the arm, right? So, or the hand arm. I sent you that story to illustrate that the hand was doing its own thing. And I just saw yesterday, I saw an interview with Josh Allen, the quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, and he's like the latest and greatest hot shot and everything, right? And so it was really interesting interview because he does things that the other quarterbacks like, how the hell does he do that kind of thing? So he's like freak of nature was. The interview even said to him, "Well, you're a freak of nature," and he just went, "Well, like, yeah, right, whatever." Yeah, he acknowledged it, which is really interesting. But he was explaining his process, right? And he was very sophisticated in going. He's a fairly youngish guy, still. He's only like fourth year quarterback. Anyway, it was very sophisticated in how he explains it. Well, when I've got this angle, this, and then I basically what I do is I feel a target zone, and he made like a circle in front of him, right? And I said, and I feel it here, and it feels right, and then my arm has to feel like, and when the arm feels it's right, it does. He very specifically, right? And the interview didn't pick up on this distinction, right? But to him, it was very clear there was a distinction. When he releases, his arm had to feel right, not him, not his thoughts, not his minds, not his feelings, not his beliefs, his arm. Right? I
okay.
mean, right. And this is a huge distinction. So the point I'm trying to make is that our body parts, particularly the arms and the hands especially, have their own brains. They have their own logic. They have their own sensibility. And we can say, for want of a better way of thinking about it, they have their own brains, right? They have their own modality, logic, and they can act independently of us, like my story of my hand acting independently of or my arm, right? My hand was moved. That's where that expression comes from, right? I
Yes.
don't know if you've heard this expression, but say my hand was moved. We use it figuratively. But you know what? I've really a long time ago I clicked that so many of our expressions that we use are rooted in something physical. We use them figuratively. But for instance, he's all wrapped up in himself. I mean, you've heard this expression a zillion times, right? And we all know what it means. But it's actually a physical thing. I remember doing Alexander technique way back when I had the restaurant, very high stress thing. And okay, it was popular at the time. It was kind of a big deal. I don't know if you're familiar with Alexander technique or not, right? It's just a way of walking and sitting and being more balanced and energy aligned. But also, the person put you would be on the table, and I don't know if this was part of Alexander technique or not. And what the practitioner did is they, see if I can illustrate, right? So they would put their hands on the sides of my ribs, right? On either side of my ribs like this, and kind of tuck them underneath, and they would pull like this. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Right. And I thought this was just too great. I really enjoyed that feeling because it's like unwrapping. Yes.
Yes.
Now, right. And this is a huge thing to do. It's not that I was wrapped up in myself in the traditional sense, but yes, I was and still am very focused on me, my doings, and what's going on. Now, I also made the effort to pay attention to others. Otherwise, I would have become that classical, introvert, all wrapped up in themselves, disconnected from the world, etc. But nonetheless, that was a very nice feeling, and I would recommend you do this to your clients in the massage. It's not I don't know if they teach it in massage or not, but from what I've seen of typical massage, that's not included in the massage.
No,
This
but that's
kind of
almost, but there's
yeah.
many a times that's almost what I do.
Oh wow, wonderful. Okay, so trust your own body to know, and trust your body to have its own brain. And this is what you're discovering, that your hands, your body have their own logic. And in your client, you're seeing it in reverse, where her arm has its own trauma that's separate from hers. Yes?
Yes, that is one. Yes, for her.
Right.
Yes, but it was the fact that she said to me, I don't know why, but I felt like I had to give my hand, or you had to touch my hand.
Yes.
Like I
Yes.
had to, like she was
Yes.
trusting me.
Yes. Yes.
And so I'm
Yes.
very wary of that because I feel so grateful and blessed,
Yeah.
but why me?
Because you are a conduit. You are a tool of the universe, an instrument of the universe. Sounds better that
And
way.
yes, because I've always asked to be an instrument of peace.
Exactly. Exactly. So your intent is aligned with the universe's intent. Yes. So you are a conduit because you are open and you don't have specific agendas other than goodness and peace, etc. Right? So the universe can use you to do what's appropriate. Others are too focused and specific on their ideas of what should be. You open, and this makes all the difference, right? So because you have this openness, and particularly you learning that you need to be even more open, right?
Oh,
And this is why I've made such a focus on saying trust what comes and be willing to do what doesn't make sense necessarily, and trust it, right? And so you do things that are outside of the normal boundaries, and they work, right? Because you have to trust, and the universe is using you. When you realize that it's not up to you, you're not the one that's the magical thing. No, you're just an
oh.
instrument of the practitioner. In other words, when ego goes out of it, now it changes. However, that doesn't mean your joy cannot be there. I am taking joy at being the instrument of the universe.
Thank you.
Different joy, a different
Yes.
joy. And now we come to our path, right? That capital P, path. We think a path is something that, you choose, you get on it. Like, well, when you get onto a road, you typically do it because you choose to. Yeah, but capital P path isn't like that, right? A capital P path is revealed to us. It's a gift from the universe. It's a gift, and it's our joy to then follow that path wherever it leads. And the path will change, right? It's a magical path,
Oh,
right?
yes.
Exactly.
So
It changes all the time. So this is the key, to have that flexibility, fluidity, and adaptability of appropriateness.
on this same day, so right before that, I had a client come in to acupuncture. I was working at the acupuncture. Technically, I was working at the acupuncture on Friday, but then the client with the hand, I couldn't fit her in anywhere. And I said, okay, well, I can do 4 o'clock on Friday for you if that works. And again, I wasn't giving myself away. I was doing what worked for me. And I know that this client is receiving peace. This client is receiving peace from the work that we are doing, we'll just say. And I know the correct word will come. Anyway, so I'm at the acupuncture with a client that I have not seen in 3 years. And I'm working on her. And still, I felt sloppy.
Oh,
I felt
unimpeccable.
I felt unimpeccable, but with that, I was I guess I was struggling a bit on the inside with making sure that I'm listening. And then at one point, I just said, you can only do the best you can do, and that's all you can do.
Exactly.
And so I just
Exactly.
kept going, and I was kind of watching my time, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're running
Yeah.
over. I need to get over to the other client. But anyway, I
Uh,
got done, and this client, when after she gets dressed and everything, she goes, "Thank you." She goes, you have such a gift,"
mm,
and felt amazing. Now here she felt absolutely amazing,
yeah.
and I felt that
Yeah.
I did not do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
just, it was a very
Yeah.
interesting experience to what
Right.
they were feeling and what I was feeling
Yes.
was,
Yes.
and but here it is, but I'm so grateful that she was feeling the way she did, because that was my intent. My intent was for her to feel that way, but yet the way my, I don't know, I was not matching this intent. I was not, my work, I felt I was not matching what I had intended. And it was just interesting that she received and even sent me a text the next day thanking me again,
Wonderful.
because she
Wow. Wow. Wow.
received, but
Wow. Wow.
again, I don't know, I did not feel impeccable that day. I really didn't. I felt I could have
Interesting.
done so much better.
Interesting. 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 Okay. So, when it comes to the path that you on, or I guess we on, yes, that we have to really, really, really understand it in the context of attunement. And when it comes to attunement, it's all about energy. Yes.
Okay.
Everything is always about energy at the bottom, at the bottom of it all, right? So impeccability is best use of energy. Yes. Now, making your maximum effort is not necessarily the best use of your energy. Yeah. Okay. So I like sugar in my coffee, but more sugar is not better, or butter on my bread. Yes.
Right.
More is there's a limit. There's a point where it's like that's the right amount and that's it. Yes. You go
Okay.
more than that, and well, now it starts to get negative progressively as you go more. Yeah. So when it comes to you interacting with your client, you're not really considering this, that your energy may be like butter or sugar. Yeah. In other words, if you give too much, you're going to now sour the deal. You're going to ruin the coffee. You're going to ruin the sandwich by putting too much butter on it. Correct? So, yes, you could have given more energy, but something in you didn't, because it was the appropriate amount of energy, not more. With
Ah.
energy, we don't make this distinction, and we need to.
So that was almost an unconscious.
Precisely.
My
And you
conscious
do
is going, this doesn't, because
exactly,
that's that whole logic thing going on, but my
exactly,
unconscious knew exactly what to
exactly.
do.
Exactly. In other words, your beliefs were corrupting things. If you'd simply stopped and looked around and said, well, is the client happy? That's it. This is your concern. Your concern is artificial if you think, well, I have to do my best. So, yes, we have to do our best, but what is our best? Our best is what's appropriate, not giving the most energy we can. That's inappropriate. Yes. So you have to redefine what your best is. See what I mean?
I do, because right after that then was the client with the arm. And I'm leaving this session that I put on me, that I did not do my best, even though I was thanked for doing very well. I could not logically compute the two,
Oh.
but I trusted, well, I did the best I could, I guess.
Right. So now when you think of your best in terms of appropriateness, right? So when you now
Oh
evaluating your
my gosh, okay.
it's a whole different logic. What is what you did appropriate? Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
so there's that famous story of the engineer who was called into this huge, great big factory, very complicated billion-dollar factory, and the things wasn't working right. And so they called in this famous engineer consultant who had, the best in the business, had all the reputation. He walked through the factory and he took out the big wrench and he walked over to a machine and he gave it a smack and then everything started working. And he said, thank you, I'll take my $1 million consulting fee now, which is what they'd agreed to ahead of time. And but you didn't really do anything. Right?
Yes.
And they were all upset about this. And he said, all my experience, all my skill, all my knowledge enabled me to fine tune and go to the exact source of the problem. That's what you paid me for. Oh, okay.
Now that I can understand.
See? So he fixed the problem with minimal effort. And this was appropriate because, well, he could have said, look, I could have had you guys, tear up the whole factory and look through everything and eventually we would have found the problem. But see, I had the skill to know where to go to avoid that. Would you rather have had me do this? And then you would have felt, well, okay, we spent a lot of effort and now the $1 million is justified. See, it's a false equivalence. You're paying me to solve it quickly and efficiently and simply. Yeah. Well, there you go. So, in other words, he was making the point too. It's not about me making a great big effort. It's me making a successful effort, an efficient and effective effort, an appropriate effort. It's about the result, not about how much effort you make. So, if
Well,
we judge according to the amount of effort, well, you're going to be giving too much sugar. And in life in general, right? These people who think cheerfulness and optimism, it's actually gotten a name. We've got toxic optimism, toxic positivity, toxic cheerfulness, toxic. Yes. How can cheerfulness be toxic? How can positivity be toxic? Well, when it's inappropriate and it's too much of it, then so. Same like sugar or butter. Yes, everybody likes sugar and butter. Well, it's hard to say that anymore, but you get my point, right? These things are supposedly innocuous, but well, you put too much on of it, and it's becomes toxic, becomes obnoxious, becomes negative, right? So same thing for you. It's not about the amount of effort; it's about appropriate effort. Yes. And if you can make the client feel good with doing the absolute minimum, wonderful, like that engineer. Yes.
yes.
The result that counts, not the amount of effort. Yes.
And
Shift. In
then,
other words, this is a big shift in your feeling believing loop now. We're breaking a very
oh
powerful
yeah. Oh yeah.
loop. Massive, massive, massive. Very simple thing, but a massive shift. So your idea of what the result is and the client's idea, two different things. Yes. Or they were. Now you're going to have a different opinion in the future. Yes.
Absolutely. Because now to go a step further with the going from that client, then going into the arm client, it made me be a little bit more cautious than to hear how this client had an experience that was not pleasant in the arm client. And I had shared with you that at one point I felt it very important. And again, because she's a TBI client, how I was in her face. I mean, I was stern about you have a choice. And I couldn't believe this was coming out of my mouth. And she goes, why are you saying this to me? But she knew it was like needed to be heard. Like, but she wasn't saying like, why are you saying it? She was just like, what made you feel it's, I'm telling you, she's so connected to a moreness
Yeah.
that is inviting me.
There you go.
I am being invited to this moreness through her. That is just so
Yes. Yes.
amazing.
Yes. You are a conduit.
But I need to be so impeccable with her because there is such a beauty, a gift,
Yeah. A magic.
a magic that has to be so
Yeah.
accountable, so
Yes.
respectable, So
Yes.
she does not realize the gift that
Yeah.
she's not even aware of the gift that she's being presented to me.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. Exactly. Exactly, Robin. Exactly. Now, your criteria here is this idea I need to do the best that I can do. Throw that out the window completely, because there's many problems with that. First of all, there's this idea of more energy is better. Well, that's already thrown. But the other part of that is I need to be the best that I can be. Yes. Now, that, in other words, there's an implication that you need to have knowledge and understanding and stuff like this. Now, well, you do, but in a different way. That, in other words, when you being the conduit for the universe, right, and every situation is different, you're going to do things that you've never encountered before, that you've never did before. Yeah. So how can you be the best that you can be? You're doing something that you've never done before, right? You have no idea what's going on. You're just a conduit. That's where you need to be impeccable. Your best is getting out of the way of the stuff that's coming through you.
Yes, because as you're saying this, I can feel, and it's funny because here we are with this believing and feeling, is that as you're saying that, I have to get out of that I can be the best, because with this particular, what I'm learning from this particular client is it's not it is not,
Exactly.
I don't know
Exactly.
what it is, but it's
Exactly.
not I.
Exactly. Exactly. That's it. Whatever it is, it's not I. And that's all you can say. And that's why I keep emphasizing this point. You're a conduit. You're a conduit. You're a conduit. Things come through you, not from you. Yes. And so your task is simply to be impeccable. And one of your tasks, your skills, is to absolutely unhook from feeling and belief loops. Right? Your feelings, your beliefs, they don't factor into it. It's about the client. It's about them getting the result they need. How exactly that needs to be accomplished, you're not always going to know, right? Actually, very seldom are you going to even have an inkling as to that, because you only can go by what's on the surface. And even though they may be trying to communicate to you, like, for instance, what's going on inside the arm has its own logic and it doesn't communicate with me. It gets separate. So, I might not know what's going on in my arm or my back or whatever body part, right? Because it has its own life and deal. And we aren't always privy to that. So, we don't know, they don't know. So you can't even rely on them to tell you, even though they might be trying to and want to. You can't rely on that. So you have to trust. And I would absolutely recommend, before you start, just give people a bit of a disclaimer. Say, look, I do what I do and I'm good at what I do. However, it does sometimes come about that I do things which are different to the usual, right? And they come through me and I trust them, and I'm just letting you know ahead of time. Yes, that I might do something that's, well, not part of what the usual stuff is. However, it is, in all my experience so far, every time this has happened and something has come through me, it's been really special and magical and wonderful and effective, however you want to say it. But I mean, I would, I'm just ad-libbing here now, but I would think about this very much in your own mind, kind of think it through, write it out so that you've got a one sentence disclaimer. Something simple that you can say, look, sometimes I'll do stuff that's a bit unconventional. It's just how I am, just so that you know, right? And it really works. It's always very successful, right? Or something like that, right? It's just a casual thing, but you let them know ahead of time that, you can go off script a little bit sometimes. Yeah.
Yes.
Very, very useful. Very, very, very useful and powerful. Very much so. Big deal. Big deal. But again, that's also as a reminder for yourself that your best is about being appropriate. Yes. And sometimes appropriate is to spend minimal energy. Yes.
Okay.
Like the art. See, this is where it started. Like the art, which is about, if you put up art like in a hospital, yes, or a hotel, or a corporate office, yes, or even, in people's homes, like I was saying. Your criteria for selecting this art is very, very different. Like if you're an interior designer, right, and you've got this super busy, well, Kevin, yeah, busy executive, big shot, busy. What does this art do for them? Does it make a demand on them? Does it require something of them? Yes, or can
Okay,
we?
I like your background now. I was going to share with you. So the background before this,
Yeah,
I was having a hard time with it.
there we go. That's why I changed
The
it. See?
squares, the boxing in, that's
Yeah.
what it reminded me of, where now you just switched it and I feel I can breathe.
Right. That box one is too close. It gets zoomed in too much with it when I put it on the background. See, even this, it's zoomed in. But that is actually the foundations of integrity, that the boxed one, which is very different. When you see it in that context, then it's very different. It's hard to show it in the background here. Hang on, let me see. Let me pull them up as on the viewer, and then you'll see a bit better. You'll see what I mean in a second here. Let's screen share. Anyway, so what I'm trying to say is, though, that if you look at this from an interior designer's point of view, right, and now we look at this, you see when it's more zoomed out, and this is this is how we build our inner self. This is how I see it, rather than as boxing and confinement, as a structure of our integrity. Right, it's not all rigid, as there's a flexibility and a fluidity to it, but it's all interconnected. And anyway, that was the idea here with this. So that was Robin's things. Let me go to some others here to give an idea. Let me just zoom through this. Oh, lots of them, yeah. Here we go. Here we go. All right. So we see
Oh,
some
I like
others.
that. I like that.
Yes,
That reminds me of the one that I got. Oh,
exactly. It's a companion piece to the one you got, right? And this one is called a pre-dawn in the city of ice. But you can call it whatever you do. I just like this idea that this was ice, and that's how you got about on ice skates. And you had ice sleds, and anyway, just it's a long story, but anyway, there's more. I have the little poem is almost like a little story to this, but you see, this gives space, you see, and gives distance, and it gives so it's about the effect on one's energy. This is the point of what is going on, right? And again, some people like, but more complex, more involved, more convoluted. It gives them comfort. They can't deal with space. I personally like this one a lot. It's like, but there's nothing going on here. Yes, but it gives me that ease, just this feeling of layeredness, and the tranquility, the peace of it. Yes.
yep.
But I also, and again, same with this. But I do my. This is one of my absolute favorites. This one. Um, this is called "Out There Beyond the More." Soul stitching murmurations. That's actually the first one that I really kind of did. And so I don't know. This again is out there beyond the more. You see, you've got this moreness connectivity, but then you've got this flowingness, and ideas and connectivities and morenesses. Like, this is what happens in your sessions with a client. Yes, if you think of your energy, yes, it
Yes.
goes, it
All
follows
right.
these
So, because
patterns. Yes,
now if you look at the background behind it, it's like the one that you just showed me where it's that
yes.
quiet. And then this is zooming in.
Exactly, 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 exactly. And this is up there beyond the more. So that other one with the blue you're talking about the one with the blue and sort of yellowish lines.
Yep.
This one, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That
So
one.
if we go through this, right? So this is the more, and we go out there beyond the more. We go through this. By the way, look at the pink in this too. See? You don't see it at first. You just see blue and yellow. But if you start to look very carefully, you see the pink in there. See?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very interesting to me. Very interesting to me. Anyway, so now we're out there beyond the mall, and we have soul stitching murmurations, because, well, this is kind of like a needle loop thing, right? And but this is what you're doing with your energy. If we could see energy itself, likely this is what you're doing in your session. right? There's a flow to things, and then you do a little bit of a sideways loop around, and go like in our conversation now. We could say this is like the flow of it, right? And things jumped a little bit, they came. It's just, see what I mean? It's very powerful, very powerful. So different ways of perceiving energy, and again, this was this whole set, you see, where the energy starts and it's connected to the bottom, and it's looking to get free. It kind of gets free a little bit, and it sort of sinks back in again. I'm not going to give up, and then it tries, and then it connects to the moreness. Then the bigger picture, right? The sort of the earth and sky, all connected. So that was the idea there. And this was, again, you see that background behind here, that moreness. It's not the same one, it's actually from a different one. And I merged the two, and then you've got this kind of a wave that's going here, right? Power merged. Sorry, this is the eagle wave spirit of mounting power, not nourishing, mounting power, merged with perfection of something, perfection of imperfection. That's right. That's the one behind it. So anyway, I'm trying to make the point, though, about more minimalist energy, and how when we connect in this moreness, and that you see these touches of energy onto that greater background. And we have to understand that sometimes it's just little light touches that makes all the difference. Like, right? It doesn't all have to be complex. See? So if you look at this as a session, yes, you touched that session where the client was so very happy, and they messaged you afterwards to say they were happy. Yes,
Yes.
you just touched, right? You just touched appropriately, right? So enhancements of surfaced nuanced silence. So
Oh my
yeah,
gosh. I can see that because in all these other faint lines, that's me thinking and trying
exactly,
and doing, but yet it was these
exactly,
other lines that are more distinct are the ones that I just, when I
exactly,
did touch in the appropriate places,
exactly,
those were the
exactly.
areas.
Exactly. And then this energy here is the energy that, or her energy, that you kind of intersected and
Yes.
enhanced and touched on.
And
Like
look
these
at,
little, like
I'm
almost like,
concentrating
yeah,
on all the other lines instead of those
exactly,
that were the most
exactly,
important.
exactly. But you see, that's the point, though. There's a greater space within which you touch. And so it's about appropriateness, not about filling the space. Too much energy and too much sugar, too much butter. Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very, very important. So it's another one in sort of that series that's a bit similar to yours. A little bit more a fantasy one, just like this big cabin and hall, but more in a similar-ish style. Yeah. So anyway, this one I did share. This one, the peculiar perfection of imperfection. So on the surface, you say, "Well, this is kind of ugly," but that's the point. See, and we have to understand that this stuff in life, it's part of a greater perfection. And what we see as imperfection, when we start to look at it, we realize that it has its own logic, its own sensibility sometimes, right? We can't always see it in the greater picture. So it's just different for me. It gives me comfort, this one, in a peculiar way. So, right? All different. A little different. Another one in that kind of a fantasy series, Wayward Bound for Home in the Megapolis. And the poem actually makes that one. It's got a cool poem to it. So, just in this very busy space, this person's going home and they find themselves alone. And, they've been taught all their lives that being alone was a negative. And they're like, no, no, no. This is the greatest boon I've ever had in my life, because, every square inch is covered with people. And yeah, I'm suddenly alone. It's like, wow, what a boon, what a gift. So just, philosophy of opposite a little bit. These are a different style, very different. I like more, the more abstract styles, but I particularly like ones that have depth to them, like that one on the ice. I'll go back to it in a moment. These are just, I'm just scrolling through the file. I don't know what comes next. Um, I like the color ones too, but that's me. Everybody likes different stuff. So anyway, yeah, I like this one too. I have lots more, Robin. I haven't even touched on all of the things here. I think is there a couple more. Oh yeah, this one I like a lot too. Birth of an idea. See again, Robin. Look at this. Yeah. So here's your client. Here's your interaction. Here's the energies. You know, your bright light shining and stuff. But something needs to be added. And you see, there's just this little bit of blue here, right?
Yep.
It changes the whole painting. Yes. I mean, if I, let's see, there we go. You see, when the blue is out of it, it changes, no? See? It's a whole different painting without the blue. But as soon as you bring that blue into it, it all changes, yes? So
Yep.
the little bit of blue, and that's it. Sometimes, again, now, if you say, well, but, why not put it all over the show? If you put the whole thing blue, no, not appropriate, yes?
Correct.
So this is your point. You make this little touch, which that bit of blue changed this whole painting. Yeah, yeah. It's a fun little poem to this as well. So, yeah. I don't want to get all involved in a poetry reading class here now, but it's fun when you look at this because it's about perspective shifting and perspective changing, and to be aware that sometimes we are this touch of blue, we are that touch of those lines with the client, right? And when you think of it from an energy point of view, then you start to realize it's about that appropriate touch, not quantity, not splotch all your paint all over the show. It'll ruin the painting, no? Does that make sense? Why you felt that you hadn't done enough, but you actually had. Just idea, not reality. Yes?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a big shift, no? It's a big shift, no? I like these ones too, in a color like this. Joy and moreness. Look here, yes, a very Robin-y one for me. Yes. This is representations of moreness in the everyday. Yeah. Like this is wood, like this is a table, but somebody's added their energy. And so this ordinary object has been enhanced by this addition of the energy. Yeah. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
What you do. It's what you do, no? Isn't that what you do, Robin? There's Robin's picture. Ah, I love this. Character building constructs. Yes. But again, too, see, you've got your core purpose. And this is your core purpose of thing is to be of value to the client. Yes.
Yes.
Now, there's a very big difference. I'm saying it specifically, not to help the client, but be of value to the client. Very, very different logics behind those. Yes. When we say I want to help the client, I think I have to do something specific. When I say I have to be of value, it leaves it open. Yeah. So you've got your core intents running through this, which is to be of value. Now, sometimes like these, you start and then you say, well, no, that's not what I thought it was, and it doesn't go any further, right? Or they fold back on themselves like this, right? And
Yeah.
other times they go through, but they're all connected. You see, so you go sideways and then you make it. So that's it. You have to do what's appropriate. And our appropriateness is not all neat and tidy, and but in the overall, you can see the theme. You can see there's a progression, there's a movement here, right? But yet it has all of this other stuff involved, and that's the point. In order to make the whole thing work, all of this is needed, right? If you take out all these side ones, the painting changes, no?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you have to have it all, even though you say, well, it's a bit messy. Well, exactly. That's it. Appropriateness is not necessarily neat and tidy. You have to get rid of that idea. Yes? You have to get rid of that idea. Yes?
Yep.
There's another one. I'm not a great fan of out of focus art, but this one actually works. I like this. Oh, and this one, through the portal, right? Coming through the
I like
portal.
that one. I like that one.
Traversing the cosmic portal into yearness. Yeah, I like the poem on this one too. It's very cool. This is really, this one really needs to be huge though. You don't quite get These are in different dimensions. This one's a little wide. It needs to be more narrow like this, right? But it needs to be big. You can't really get the feel of it on the computer, right? I mean, you can picture it big though, right? I mean, where it's going to really like impact the feel and the mood of it. These are just in different ratios. The same painting, just different ratios. This the way it comes for Saatchi. So see, I'm doing it. Well, anyway, this is a kind of a more spacey one, airy one, all different as well. So, and I'm just going through all of them now to see. I think I'm kind of at the beginning here now. Yeah. All right. I think so. I think we've seen them all. Oh, this one, that's a very simple one as well, curtain one. But again, all different logics to it. So much more coming. I think I showed you them all. I wanted to share them all, but they're not in a file where it's sort of separated out an individual. Yeah, I think we saw them all. Yeah, except maybe this one. Oh,
Cool
I don't
too.
know what one is. That's Robin right there, venturing into the unknown. It's a bit out of context, yeah. What about that one? All right. Anyway, this one too. Well, there were a couple more. Anyway, but anyway, you've seen them all now, I think so, mostly, yeah. This is also sometimes with energy, they have patterns and patterns, and they swirl like this. And you see this too. It's black and white, but the bit of color is all that's needed sometimes to transform the black and white. Remove this color, and this whole thing becomes just boring. Yes. Well, to me anyway. I'm not
Well,
a
no,
fan of that.
you know what this represents for me, the nervous system.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. But it's swirling simplicity, cavorting as lazy elegance. We see this and we think, oh, it's like all involved in that. No, it's lazy elegance. It's the nervous system. It can be relaxed or it can be stressed. And that's
Yep.
why it's nice that you saw this as the nervous system, because this is a nervous system of somebody who's in balance, at peace, who's happy, who's joyful, right? Yeah. Cavorting as lazy elegance. So yeah, be elegant, and be appropriate. That's the key, Robin. It's about that appropriate touch. Yes, you were appropriate with the client, and you have a part of you that knows more than you think you know.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not about learning; it's about unlearning. Really, about learning to trust and learning to have that awareness to recognize, to hear the moreness within you. That's my job really here, is to get you not to have more knowledge, but to be able to have the appropriate tools that can help you clear the ideas that block you from the stuff that's already in you. Yeah? It's not about giving you more information, it's giving you tools to access the information that's already in you, the moreness that's in you. Yeah. Tools like appropriateness, tools like capital H hearing, tools like impeccability, tools like trust, self-trust. That's it. Those aren't the data information things, because who knows what's going to be required for the client. It's going to be different every single time. There is no ahead of time knowing what is going to be appropriate, right?
And that
Not
is so
possible.
true.
Not possible. And this is the problem with the medical field, that they try and fit you into their preconceived box ahead of time. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. No, it's about the appropriateness. And when that appropriateness, like in your case, is outside of what is known as a remedy, because it's individual and particular, well, that's it. That's what it is. That's all you can do, is give it whatever is needed for them at that moment. So that's why I'm saying that disclaimer, I feel this would be very helpful, right? To say, look, I might do stuff that I don't always know. It's different and unusual maybe, but just so you know, it's always appropriate. That's my job. My job here is to give you value, and I make every effort to do that. Now, again, you have to find your own words. I'm just saying it. You want it short and sweet and casual. you don't want to make a big thing of it. Just it's a disclaimer, That's just to kind of let you know it's casual. It's casual. Right? You don't want to put too much emphasis on it because then they also get all sorts of ideas and expectations in their heads, right? So you may say it like, just I don't always do things in the typical way. My intent is to give you value, and I'm very serious about that. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Thank you. Right?
Absolutely.
Very
Thank you.
simple. So that disclaimer is very important, I feel. Yeah.
I like this. We're venturing on we're venturing on my next adventure.
Yes, exactly.
We're
Exactly.
collaborating. We're
Yes,
collaborating on a
yes,
venture.
yes.
So, and I love this. So thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But now it is time for me to start getting things done,
Brilliant,
to
brilliant.
continue
I like
working
the
on my
focus.
house.
Yes. Oh, and how's that going, by the way? How's that going?
Well, I was away, so
All right, all right.
I am continuing little by
Okay.
little, piece by
Brilliant,
piece.
brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Exactly, exactly. And little by little leads to leaps and bounds.
Yes. Yes, yes,
Little
yes.
by little leads to leaps and bounds. Absolutely. Very
And I will
important
see
to
you
remember that,
on,
right?
yes, and I will see you on Thursday.
Brilliant, brilliant. I just so love this. And our key takeaway for today is that more is not necessarily better, particularly when it comes to energy. It's about appropriateness. Yes, that engineer. Yes. And you were appropriate with your client, were you not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, you probably felt a bit drained, you said, yes?
Um, well, I felt drained after the first one because I really felt I was trying harder than
There you go. But
I was
also,
trying.
ah, right. Well, also, if you're feeling drained, it's because you've been giving your energy to the client. Yes. So not because you've been wasting your time and effort and not succeeding. No, when you're feeling drained, you probably have been succeeding because you're transferring energy. Yes.
Mm,
So you have to be careful of that too. If you give too much, then that's no good either. Yeah. Then
yes,
you empty yourself, and then you'll sink, and then you both drown.
and we don't want that impeccableness.
Precisely. So appropriate, and you were doing what's appropriate. You always do your best, and your best isn't more. Your best is appropriate. Yes, different best.
All
Your
right.
best is trusting. Your best is letting things come through you. You the conduit. Yes, to emphasize the key. I'm doing that just a kind of a repeat back takeaway of emphasis. Yes, the key points here. So trust and an adventure. The key point on adventure is to be fluid, flexible, and adaptable. Yes. Right, Robin?
I'm writing that.
Flexible, fluid, adaptable, because these are the three core elements of appropriateness. If you want to be appropriate, you have to be fluid and flexible and adaptable. Otherwise, you can't be appropriate. Yes. And of course, with an adventure, the other part of it is to have fun. If you're not having fun, it's not an adventure, right?
Yes.
So very important. Enjoy
Awesome.
it. Enjoy it. Enjoy the fact that you don't know what's going to come.
You
This
got
is
it. And when I
adventure.
get my pictures, I will take a picture of them for you.
Please, please, please. You don't know what's going to come. Enjoy the hell out of it. All right, Robin. Too wonderful. Too wonderful. Too wonderful.
All
I'll see you
right.
on Thursday. I'll
You
see you on
got it.
Thursday.
Bye.
Bye bye, Robin. Bye bye, bye bye, bye bye. So magical. Bye bye.